Okay. Good evening to all of the professionals and space enthusiasts gathered here. I welcome you all to the world's biggest digital space conference this year, organized by SDNx and Helium Learning Labs. My name is Pallavi and I am an intern at SDNx Helium Learning Labs and your host for this session. I'm pretty sure we are all diverse in a lot of aspects, but what has brought us together is our love and enthusiasm for space. This year's theme, the role of space education and research in emerging nations, was adopted to put a spotlight on the space activities in emerging nations and empower them further. We expect that throughout this summit, the students and young professionals can get guidance with their education and career. SDNx Foundation was established in the year 2013 with the purpose of making space accessible to everyone through its initiatives and educational projects. Helium Learning Labs, who are our organizing partner, are an edtech company that aims to establish a world-class digital space school to fill the gap between space education and the space industry, to train students for the future space workforce. We are all fascinated by space, but getting to know more about it from a professional who works towards it on a daily basis would be even more insightful. Our speaker, Mr. BahaaAlDeen from Egypt, has a BSc degree in Electrical Power and Machines Engineering. He is a research fellow at Scalable Energy Efficient Computing Laboratory, also known as SCALE, in Brown University in the USA. He is the national point of contact in Egypt for the Space Generation Advisory Council. He is the technical leader for Moon Village Association in Egypt, leading the design of the first lunar mission by Egyptian Space Agency. He has worked in a project in India in collaboration with IIT Bombay as a part of an environmental initiative to design electrical vehicles for public transportation. He has also been a reviewer for the IEEE Access Journal in 2019 and Circuit Systems and Signal Processing Journal in 2020. These are only few of the achievements by Mr. BahaaAlDeen, and without further ado, I'd like to hand over the session to Mr. BahaaAlDeen to take us through his exciting work journey and inspire and motivate us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for having me. We will today be talking about the space endeavors in Egypt and the Middle East. Egypt is holding a special geopolitical position in the Middle East and Africa, as well as holding a lot of economic playing cards by attaining the River Nile and the Suez Canal, with approximately 12% of global trade passing through, which got a lot of attention lately. Regarded as one of the growing economies during the COVID epidemic by the International Monetary Fund latest reports, which attracted a lot of investments to the country. An intro to about myself. I'm a national point of contact for Egypt for the Middle East sector at SGAC, the technical lead for the Egyptian branch of the Moon Village Association, MVA, a research fellow at Brown University in 2020. I hold a master's in microelectronics and a bachelor in electrical engineering. The Egyptian space strategy run in tune with four major agendas. First is the Egyptian Sustainable Development Strategy for 2030, which has a political and social paradigm in the country. Also the African Space Policy, and also the strategy of the Group on Earth Observation called GEOS, which have environmental and climate change goals, as well as the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda for the year 2030. The Egyptian space strategies are enforced through two governmental authorities. The first is NARS, which is the National Authority for Remote Sensing and Space Science, established in 1991. The second one is the Egyptian Space Agency, called EXA, established recently in 1920. The NARS mainly focus on the remote sensing and space studies that address environmental and societal issues. Regional and local studies also with global significance. NARS includes staff which are professionals in areas of geoinformation infrastructure and applications of remote sensing and space sciences, such as, but not limited to, climate change studies, ecological survey, geology, geophysics, and environmental studies, natural resources studies, including land use, biomass estimation, plantation, soils, and water resources, as well as agriculture studies and space sciences and education. The Egyptian Space Agency, recently established in 2019, mainly aims to create and transfer space technology development and owning self-capabilities to build and launch satellites for Egypt, as well as expand space and related activities. EXA mainly hold 9 labs for different subsystems, including payload, electrical power system, antenna measurement, and others. The Egyptian Space Agency have an active TICO office regarding with feasibility studies for startups and technology transfer from research to industrialization, which has a lot of benches in many universities and research centers. The Egyptian space agenda is mainly confined by 5 pillars: the Earth observation program, satellite communication and navigation, international and regional collaborations, as well as cooperation with universities and research centers. The Earth observation programs is defined within a number of satellite series, namely the NextSat, the MistraSat, the North Cube, and the ExaCube, both confined under the nanosatellite genre. Referring to the remarks by the head of Space Imaging Division, a member of board of directors at the Egyptian Space Agency, the Earth observation program is deployed by using a series of experimental satellites, starting with the NextSat-1 project intended to build, launch, and operate an experimental satellites for Earth observation. The satellite is built by EXA experts in a qualified Egyptian facility and developed and prepared for this purpose at the Space Operating Center, as well as tested in space labs. The NextSat-1 is a remote sensing satellite equipped with a panchromatic camera with a resolution of 5 meters. The satellite is planned to be launched by December 2021 at an altitude of 500 kilometers. And this was by cooperation with Germany as a consultant in this project. We can see that there are a number of NextSats coming after that, about 3 NextSats and 2 MistraSats, all to be deployed before 2030. The series is mainly targeted towards exploring camera system technology, communication systems, SAR imaging, and multi-communication systems. EXA also is concerned and participating in a ClaimCam project to be installed on the ISS to take images near visible and infrared spectrum targeting East Africa under the goals for the Sustainable Development Growth for 2030. Moving on, there is also a series of nanosatellites to be deployed as well, which started with 2 North Cubes, 1 and 2. These satellite projects are funded by the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. And these CubeSats are developed and manufactured in Egypt. The 2 satellites have a small camera to capture images for Egypt and are deployed in orbit in 2019 by JAXA H2B rockets. These cubes are currently in orbit and are to be followed by another North Cube and other 5 ExaCubes. And these nanosatellite series is targeted towards high-performance imaging, demonstration of S-band tech, thruster tech demo, hyperspectral imaging, as well as utilizing artificial intelligence. And all of these to reach the ExaCube 8, which should be to utilize satellite constellations. EXA is also participating in a space plasma nanosatellite mission called SDNx, which is supported by Academy of Scientific Research to serve in the COSPAR constellation in 2021. This mission is targeted towards measuring the ionosphere, plasma, and Earth magnetic field anomalies. EXA and the Egyptian space strategy is mainly targeted toward cooperation with universities and research centers in Egypt. and that by supporting joint research activities, supporting postgraduate studies in the space-related field, supporting joint space research missions, and also development of curriculums in space-related areas. Where EXA is highly involved in spreading an ESAT kit, which is a multi-purpose educational platform and supported by educational syllabus. Egypt holding a special location between Africa and the Middle East. It has to be a main geopolitical player in the Middle East by having close communication regarding space-related collaborations, which is currently ongoing with the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and others in the Middle East. Also regarding Africa, a satellite assembly and testing center will be inaugurated in September 2022 in the International Space City, which is to be the first center for its kind in the Arab world. It is planned to also produce pure Egyptian satellites for purposes related to development in Egypt and Africa, as well as scientific research. The president of EXA also said that Egypt will host the African Space Agency after the African Union's approval. And there is a plan in a cooperation with Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, Sudan, and Nigeria to launch a joint satellite dubbed the African Development Satellites. The headquarters of the African Space Agency is now being established in the International Space City at a $10 million budget. The international actors, mainly the NGOs acting currently in Egypt, are the Moon Village Association and the Space Generation Advisory Council. We at the Moon Village Association are helping EXA to expand different space-related activities under the PSEC program, under a very extensive hierarchy composed of a number of teams, namely the educational program concerned with educational purposes, EXA communication regarded with communication with Egyptian Space Agency, internal communication outreach regarded with the social outreach and social platform, fundraising and budget allocation, also the events and sponsorship coordination regarded with events establishments. And the two very important teams, technical development program and scientific mission design. And we are working within the two teams to expand the Egyptian Space Agency operation in outer space. Finally, the Space Generation Advisory Council, the SGAC, we are working to spread space-related knowledge as one of the hard actors in Egypt. And we worked with closely with EXA officials in a published webinar named The New Space Technologies and Opportunities on the SGAC YouTube channel. We are currently working on the first space generation event in Egypt called SG Egypt 2021. We'll be discussing three main topics: the lunar exploration, diversity in space, and space medicine. It should be a virtual conference in the 10th of July and the 17th of July. So I hope that you can tune in and learn from our speakers from different space agency and space-related topics. Thank you for attending our presentation. And please check the Egyptian activities related to space in these things.
Thank you so much, Mr. BahaaAlDeen. Thank you so much for filling us and the viewers with your insight on what the EXA is doing, the Egyptian Space Agency. And I learned a lot, and the viewers have too. And so the next session that we'll be moving on to will be the interview session, which will last for 20 minutes. So, okay. Like you said, that the Egyptian Space Agency is a newly developed agency. So, like, how do you think privatization will help in development of the space industry in Egypt?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, how do you think that privatization will help in development of the space industry in Egypt?
Yeah, most space agencies created cannot act with that kind of technology, such as propulsion technology. Private sector in that field would decrease the cost as well as create some sort of challenges between different companies in that sector. that will drive innovation, advancement of
Yeah.
technology, decrease of prices, as we see in SpaceX and Blue Origin. That kind of work can help human exploration to space with lower costs.
That is definitely true. And moving on to the next question, like you are from an electrical background, so like when was the point when you realized that the space industry is a career like I should pursue, and did you face any difficulties in that when you switched from your electrical background to the space industry?
So the space industry attracted my attention because it considered a field in a dark region that I didn't explore before. Exploring that region made me reach my maximum potential in my field of major. It put me in certain challenges, of course. It made me learn a lot, work in a lot of international projects in these fields under the supervision of University of Stuttgart, under supervision of experts from European Space Agency, as well as a number of respectable colleagues around the world. Uh, for the second part of the question, uh, I don't think that working in any field in technology or otherwise would be hard in space sector, because the space sector is expanding. It can engulf a lot of specialities. We are seeing space medicine, we are seeing space law. These are emerging branches now tackling space industry. Yeah, you are definitely work with different specifications, but definitely it's a challenge worth going through.
Yeah. So you told us that it motivated you and it made you like work beyond your limit, and you did that. So like what part
Yeah.
of your job excites you to keep coming back to it every day?
Well, the excitement is that you always work on the edge of human knowledge, either in research, either in space technology, in any field. When you are walking on the edge, you can work your whole life on that edge, but you can poke a little bit. And it's the job of others to come and accumulate their work on yours. So we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We didn't do our work just by ourselves. So the excitement is that we are always making the life of humanity better. We are working in a global environment, and that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, so speaking of like improving the global environment, like how would you like to describe the emerging nations government always think that it is important to look into the matters that is happening on earth instead of like thinking about space and all. So like how would you like to explain that? How is space exploration important to develop earth also?
Okay, that's a very complicated question. We are seeing a lot of funding towards space exploration. We're seeing the Artemis mission 2024 approved by the US president. We are seeing a lot of funding in that field. Um, Across the human history, from Sputnik to the Apollo generation to the ISS, uh, that's a lot of money, right? But
Yeah.
definitely we gained a lot of technology and a lot of insight on how to enhance human lives. A lot of technologies that we are using now came from space exploration, space research towards these missions. Definitely, space exploration can help, to fix what's happened now in the environment, climate change, and others. But definitely, we need to have the constraints to not, neglect the effects that's happening now to the environment. And that's why Egypt is mainly concerned with the sustainable development and, maintaining the Earth, climate change. That's one of the main targets for Egypt. I mean.
Okay. So is aerospace curriculum popular among the school and university students in your country?
I don't think that it's something that is extensive now in Egypt, but the enthusiasm among the young generation is now coming up.
Okay.
and we are trying to foster that. Definitely, the Egyptian Space Agency and the Academy of Scientific Research are working towards that goal, and they are trying to sign a lot of MOUs with a lot of universities in order to help spread that kind of knowledge and foster space-related curriculums.
Okay. So the next question is, as the next decade is very crucial for the EXA, that is Egyptian Space Agency, as they are having a lot of missions planned. So where do you think your country will be in the next decade in terms of space development?
I believe that Egypt is going to be a major player in the Middle East and Africa regarding the outer space operations. We are seeing a lot of attention and a lot of movement in the governmental authorities towards that subject. And they are trying to foster younger generations in order to carry that mantle, that mantle. So I see that, and I hope that Egypt in the future would have a lot of missions that is going to be published in a lot of conferences in the future, and it's going to be a worldwide impact. We are seeing a lot of collaborations with a lot of nations. Egypt is not working alone because it understands that it's not a sole endeavor, as it's a very major player and a geopolitical force in the region.
Yeah, we believe too that as it is a geopolitical power between the Africa and the Middle East, it will be a growing hub in the next decade. So we are done with the technical round. So now I would like to move on to the rapid fire round. So we'll have some fun questions for this. So my first question is, why do you feel like some people still think that space is science fiction?
Okay, maybe because a lot of the movies that are portrayed in the space, genre, are kind of science fictional. They are not scientifically accurate. That's one of the reasons. The lack of attention in space-related education, space-related curriculums. But definitely these also science fiction, genres and science fictional, concepts drove humanity towards the edge of technology. Cell phone was once, I think, a science fiction, dream of someone, but it came a reality. I think if you watch movies in the 60s, you can see that highway roads that we have now in every country were some sort of a science fiction as well. But now we are living it as a reality. Someday, people are going to look back and see, space endeavors for any country is now science fiction. Or was a science fiction, but now it's a reality for everyone. As we're seeing, Virgin Galactic is trying to commercialize and make tourists, go to space or to some sort of, a LEO, I think, orbit. So, we are seeing that we are on the edge on transfer between science fiction to reality. But there are a tangible part to it that we are going to see, maybe not our generation, maybe the next generation, we're going to see people, massing towards trying, a zero-G experience in the future, for the price, of course.
So like you mentioned Hollywood and maybe, so I'd like to ask you one question. What is your favorite movies or series like that is about science fiction?
I would say, and that's, I think, the standard answer, it's Interstellar. Christopher Nolan is a genius, and Kip Thorne was a really great part of the movie. Even the science fictional parts have mathematical interpretation. I don't want to burn the movie for anybody, but even the end of the movie, it's very science fictional, but it has a mathematical interpretation to it. So, that's why I love it.
And what science fiction technology from a series or movie would you like to see in the real world?
Well, it started as a science fictional, idea, but I would love to see the hyperdrive. which is now validated by mathematics and research. The hyperdrive is mainly warping space and moving the space instead of the vehicle itself. For that, we have seen a lot of research that worked with subatomic particles that prove that this can be, these mathematical equations can be attained physically on a minuscule scale, of course, but it's kind of proven. I hope to see antimatter technology. I hope to see that kind of technology deployed, of course, in the future. It's a vast amount of power. We are not utilizing that kind of technology. So, yeah.
I hope we live for the day to see that technology happening. And
Yeah.
if you could visit a planet like other than Earth, so which planet would you visit in our solar system and why?
I think to answer this question logically, I can either choose Mars or Venus. From my
Yeah.
experience, Venus is not very friendly. Neither is Mars, but Mars is statistically much better and makes more sense. So yeah, I don't have any other option but Mars.
Okay. And ending this session, I'd like to ask you one piece of advice to give to the young people like who aspire to work in the space industry.
Yeah. I would advise anybody to do what they love in whatever field that they are working in, because space industry is expanding. It's involving a lot of specialities. We are seeing space law, we are seeing space medicine, we are seeing biologists go to the ISS. It's a very extensive field, and it's absorbing a lot of specialities. So do
Yeah,
what you
so
love.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Like you could follow your passion as well, what you love, and it is multidisciplinary, so you could do anything and it will be useful just equally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We are glad. I'm glad on behalf of the SDNx and Helium Learning Labs to have you here speak for us. And I'm glad the
Thank
students
you.
viewing from Egypt and India and other emerging nations will be inspired and motivated by your work.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much. Yeah. I'll just check. Okay, so I guess we do not have any questions from the audience as of now. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your energy you have put into this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.